Culture isn't a vibe, it's a system. And if you can't measure it, you can't scale it. I'm John Pike, and I help companies turn vague culture goals into crystal clear performance accelerators. In this session, we'll break down how to calibrate culture to attract, align, and keep top talent. Let's take a look at cultural calibration. Culture isn't what's written on the wall. It's not a bunch of slogans. It's what happens when no one's watching. Culture is not about perks. It's the unseen ecosystem that shapes how a company functions. Just as soil quality determines what crops can grow, culture defines whether strategy thrives or fails. It's the sum total of behaviors, norms, language, rituals, and unspoken rules that shape how your people think, act, and interact. It's how decisions get made, how feedback is given, how conflict is handled, and how performance is defined. Culture isn't static, it evolves. And in high growth companies, it evolves very quickly. Left unmanaged, this evolution becomes drift. Left unchecked, drift turns into dysfunction. That's why culture cannot be left to osmosis. It must be calibrated intentionally, repeatedly, and with precision. What is cultural calibration? It's the intentional practice of aligning the lived behaviors of an organization with its stated values and strategic goals. It means translating aspirational culture into operational reality. It's not just about culture fit, it's about cultural contribution. It's the difference between hiring people who reinforce the status quo and hiring people who move the culture forward. Calibration implies measurement. Just as a scale needs to be set correctly before weighing, a culture must be measured against objective behaviors and business outcomes, not vague sentiments or charisma. When done well, cultural calibration allows leaders to embed values into hiring, onboarding, feedback, and promotion, create psychological safety without sacrificing performance, identify and repair friction between teams, leaders, and layers, prevent brilliant jerks from poisoning the well, and translate executive intent into day-to-day action. Let's take a look at calibrating culture in practice. It's the deliberate alignment between stated values and everyday behavior. It transforms abstract principles into tangible norms and evolves them as business scales. Unlike culture fit, which keeps things the same, calibration invites diversity while protecting core values. Cultural calibration starts with clarity, but it only becomes real through action. Some of the key steps include: diagnose your current culture. Use surveys, interviews, and psychometric overlays to map how the current culture feels and functions. Secondly, define cultural anchors. Identify the behaviors that reflect your values and the ones that contradict them. Third, translate values into behaviors. Make values observable, measurable, and coachable. Integrity isn't enough. What does it look like in a sales meeting, a client call, or a team conflict? Embed culture into talent systems. Make culture part of how you hire, how you onboard, review, mentor, and promote. Make it unavoidable. Monitor and adjust. Culture is a living system. Use data, feedback loops, and observation to refine over time. Let's take a look at the intersection of culture and performance. Some people think that culture is warm and fuzzy and performance is cold and hard. But the highest performing teams in the world, from elite military units to championship sports franchises, have strong cultures because they demand high performance. A calibrated culture holds people accountable to shared standards. It enables hard conversations. It reinforces desired behaviors through rituals, recognition, and consequence. When culture is calibrated, people know what's expected. They don't waste time or energy decoding politics, dodging landmines, or second guessing motives. They focus on the mission. From culture fit to culture contribution. Traditional hiring practices focus on fit, but fit often means sameness. It rewards familiarity and punishes difference. Instead, culture should be about contribution, how someone adds to the team, expands perspective, or strengthens a key capability. A culture of contribution embraces diversity of thought, style, and background, while also anchoring everyone to the same standards of excellence and behavior. Now, why cultural calibration must be ongoing? The instant you stop managing culture, entropy begins. New hires begin new habits. New markets bring new pressures. What worked at 10 employees won't work at 50. What worked at 50 may break at 200. That's why cultural calibration is not a one-time initiative. It's an operating rhythm. Leaders must revisit, reinforce, and realign cultural continuously, especially through growth, change, or crisis. Otherwise, culture becomes diluted, fragmented, or hijacked by dysfunctional behaviors. Why culture matters more than ever. As remote work, hybrid teams, and generational shifts have reshaped the workplace, culture is now your company's operating system. When teams are distributed, culture is the code that tells them how to behave. When strategy changes fast, culture is the stabilizer that helps people adapt. Yet many leaders misunderstand culture. They confuse perks for principles. They think culture is soft. In truth, culture is the most powerful force shaping performance. It's what drives retention, accountability, collaboration, and resilience. Culture isn't the workplace, it's what makes the work possible. Common cultural misalignments. Values are posted, but not practiced. Managers default to fear instead of feedback. Sales teams operate by different rules than the rest of the company. High performers get away with toxic behavior because they deliver results. Onboarding skips cultural orientation entirely. Executives say we're a family, but act like a factory. These misalignments erode trust, increase turnover, and slow execution. Even the most well-meaning leaders can create confusion when culture isn't modified or managed. The role of the leader, founder, entrepreneur. In founder-led companies, culture often mirrors the founder's personality. At first, this can be a strength because it drives unity, identity, and speed. But over time, this founder dependence becomes a bottleneck. Culture decisions must scale beyond instinct. To escape the day-to-day and lead at the strategic level, founders must codify their culture. That means defining values, operationalizing behaviors, and embedding them into systems. It also means identifying the cultural non-negotiables, the boundaries that protect the business from drift as it grows. We advise founders to use a strategy that works, and the 5 steps to culture calibration we mentioned above is a great system to start with. Culture is the climate your strategy breathes in. If strategy is the map, culture is the weather. You can have the best plan in the world, but if the environment is stormy, your people will struggle to move. Cultural calibration is about controlling the climate. It's about creating an ecosystem where your strategy can take root and thrive. For the founder, dreaming of stepping back from operations, this is non-negotiable. Because once you leave the room, your culture is what leads.